Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making these no-stuff Crochet Christmas Bauble Ornaments. By no stuff, I mean there's no stuffing inside. All you need is yarn and a hook, and you can customize the size by changing your hook size or even changing your yarn. You can even do it with a small yarn. You could do it with a chunky yarn, whichever you prefer. These are super adorable. So this little guy here is made with a Lara. It says it's a 3-weight, but that is pretty much a 2-weight yarn. And I think the best is Favorite. This here, it says it's a 4-weight, but really it's a DK weight or an 8-ply if you are in Australia. So that makes just the perfect cute little ornament. And these are with worsted weight acrylic with a larger hook and then again with a smaller hook. So this is 4 worsted weight acrylic or 10-ply if you are in Australia. This is with a 6mm and this is with a 4mm. So you can just kind of customize whichever size you like. To make the No Stuff Crochet Christmas Bauble Ornament, you will just need yarn. You can use 1 color or 5 colors. There's 5 different layers depending on what you want to do. So I'm just using 3 colors, the red, white, and green, and just doing whatever stripe combination comes up. So for your stripes, you can do top and bottom matching and a layer in the center that's different, or you can even go in order and just keep repeating it so it looks kind of like this. To make your no-fill Crochet Christmas Bauble Ornaments, I'm using Favorite from Ice Yarns. It says it's a 4-weight, but it is quite thin for a 4-weight. A DK weight or 8-ply if you're in Australia would work out perfectly. I'm also going to be using a 4mm crochet hook. You will need a pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in some of your ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. So grab whatever color you want to start with, and we're going to leave a bit of a tail, probably about 6 inches. We need to be able to tie this later. So leaving a 6-inch tail, make a slip knot, shrink that down and pop it onto your hook, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go into that very first chain we made right here. So pop your hook in, and we want to get ourselves situated underneath, so we want to be forming a U shape. And you want to hold that open with your finger and thumb and slip stitch to form a ring. Don't let go, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're not working over our tail, so just let that hang. We need it for tying, so that's just going to sit down there. This counts as our first double crochet, so we're going to count that as 1. We want a total of 12, so we're going to make 11 more. So 1, 2, 3. You can pause the video and keep working along. We want a total of 12 double crochets counting our chain. So there is my 12 double crochets, and now we're going to slip stitch to the top of our chain to join. We want 2 strands of that chain on the top of our hook, right there. So pop your hook in and slip stitch to join, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as our first double crochet, and now we're going to go into the very same stitch. So just that little tiny hole right there, we're going to go in and make 1 more double crochet into the very same spot. 1 double crochet. And now into the next stitch, which is this guy right here. That's our next stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets into our next stitch. 1 and 2. And now 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So wrap your yarn and into the next stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And now you can pause the video and keep working around, 2 double crochets into each stitch. You'll have a total of 24. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. Are you enjoying this tutorial? Go ahead and hit this button under this video right now so you don't miss out on any more quick and easy fun tutorials just like this. There we are. We have our 24 double crochets all the way around, and we're going to slip stitch again into the top of our chain, 2 strands of the chain on the top of our hook. Just like that. So slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So that counts as our first double crochet. Now into our next stitch, right there, we're going to make 1 double crochet. So wrap your yarn, 1 double crochet into that next stitch, chain 1, and into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, we're going to make 1 double crochet into each. So 1 double crochet into 1 stitch and 1 double crochet into the next. And chain 1. So for this round, we're doing double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and chain 1. So you can pause the video and keep working around. 1 double crochet into 1 stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and a chain 1 in between. So just pairs of double crochets, 1 into each stitch with a chain 1 in between each pair. So pause the video, keep working around, and I will meet you when we get back to where we started. After your last pair of double crochets, still do your chain 1. We just made these spaces. Can you see those spaces in between the pairs? That's our chain 1. So that's what we wanted to do for this round. Now into the top of our chain, we are also going to slip stitch to join. So pop your hook in, 2 strands on the top of your hook, slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Now this tail we're going to use for cinching our ball together later, plus the hanging tag. So you probably want about 16 inches. So cut a long tail, pull your hook up and your yarn through, snug that down to secure, and turn it over. We're going to be working in to the back side now. So the front side looks all pretty, like penne pasta all lined up in a row, and the back side looks like macaroni in a pot. So we want to have the pretty penne pasta face down, just like that. Don't worry about our tails, we need both of those. Go ahead and grab your next color, whichever color you want to use. To start layer 2, or the bottom filling, we don't need to have a very long tail, just 1 or 2 inches. Make a slip knot and chain 12. So we're doing a bigger ring this time. 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. So there is our chain 12. We're going to go into that very first chain, right over there. And we're going to slip stitch to form a ring. But this time we're going to work over our tail. So I'm just going to hold that tail along with my chain, slip stitch to form a ring, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as our first double crochet. And now we're going to make 23 more double crochets into the center of our ring. So we want a total of 24, including our chain. So there's 3. So now you can pause the video and just keep working along. You want a total of 24 double crochets into the center of your ring. We can work over our tail. We don't need this tail for anything. So pause the video, 24 double crochets, including your chain, and I will meet you back. So there is my 24 double crochets, including the chain. Again, slip stitching to the top of that chain to join 2 strands of the chain on the top of your hook. Just like that. And now we are ready to start doing something really fun. So chain 3 to start. 1, 2, 3. 1 double crochet into the next stitch, right there. 1 double crochet. Chain 1, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So we're doing these little sets. There is 1 and 2. So these are the little sets we are going to be building for this round. 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So now grab your bottom bun, your first layer, find any space, it doesn't matter. Find any of these spaces and just pop your hook in and slip stitch. Just like that. Now you can drop that first layer, and into the ring that we're working on, we're going to do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, double crochet. So into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, and into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Just like that. Now we want to line it up with our bottom bun. So we're going to be skipping a chain 1 space on the bottom bun, working into the second with a slip stitch. Okay, we have these little spaces going along. So now we're going to do the same thing. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, double crochet. So into the first stitch, double crochet, and into the second stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet, double crochet. Just like that. Now line it up again. We're going to skip a chain 1 space on our bottom bun and go into the second to slip stitch. It's lining up just like that. So keep going along. You can pause the video. 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and double crochet. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can hit that gear on this video and slow me down or speed me up if I'm too slow. So into your bottom layer again, skipping a space and going into the second with a slip stitch. Now, keep going, doing the same thing. I'll meet you when you have worked all the way around and we are back to where we started, right there. So there we are back where we started. Still going to skip a space and work into the second for a little slip stitch. And now we're going to slip stitch straight into the top of our chained join. I'm going to slip stitch right there into the top of our chain. 2 strands on the top of our hook, just like always. And slip stitch to join. And chain 1. Now you can cut this tail off. You just need a couple inches. We're just going to sew it back down into the center. So pull your hook up and your yarn through. Snug that down to secure. And thread your needle. For these tails, the outside tails of our center layers, it is easiest to just sew them in right now. So just slide your needle back down towards the center. If you have a sharp tip needle, it really helps. They are linked in the description box down below. Then all you have to do is get your tail down into the center. If you have a blunt tip needle, they generally go around the yarns instead of through. You might want to go back and forth a little bit in this fat part of the circle. And then just cut off your tail. You can pull this center tail through, just like that, and that finishes layer 2. Now we're ready to do layers 3 and 4. They are both the same, so this next layer we're going to be doing it twice. So grab your next color. And we just need a short tail again, so just 1 or 2 inches. Make a slip knot, shrink it down, pop it onto your hook, and chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, and 12. And right into that very first chain we made, just pop your hook in. We're going to slip stitch to join. And we're going to work over our tail so we can hold our tail along with our work. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That counts as our first double crochet. We want to make 24 in total, so we want to make 23 double crochets into the center of your ring, going over your tail if you can. So pause the video, keep working along. 24 double crochets into the center of your ring, including your chain. There's my 24 double crochets. Now we're going to slip stitch right into the top of our chain 3. Right there, we're going to slip stitch to join, just like we always have been. One little slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So now we're going to start our first set of double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Our starting chain counts as our first double crochet. Our second double crochet goes into this stitch right here. So wrap your yarn and into the next stitch, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and into each of the next 2 stitches, 1 double crochet into each. There. So we have our first little set, and then we are ready to start joining. So take your layers that you've already done and just set the new ring on top. And look for any loose chain 1 spot. So in these sections in between, you'll find a loose one. Just pop your hook straight in and slip stitch to get started. Go back to your ring. Make sure you're working into the front side of your ring, pretty macaroni facing up, and do another set. So 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, double crochet. So 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet, just like that. Now into the next loose space, just right there. Slip stitch. So you can just drop those layers, just let them hang there. And into your next 4 stitches, we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So there's my 2 double crochets, my chain 1, and my last 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Now into the next loose space. Right there, slip stitch to join, and back to building our blocks. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into the ring that we're working on. So there's my 2 double crochets, chain 1, and my last 2 double crochets, and then into the next loose space, slip stitch to join. Back into your ring, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. There we go, that's my last double crochet. Find your next loose space and slip stitch to join. Now we have our 4 stitches left. So we're going to do our 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, chain 1, and our last 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and slip stitch into our last empty space. So slip stitch, and slip stitch into the top of our chain. Just pop your hook in and slip stitch. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, just leaving a long enough tail to sew in. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Thread your needle. And we just want to get this tail back down into the center. I like to hold my finger underneath that layer to make sure we're not sewing our layers together. And then just poke it straight down through into the center. And you can sew it in a couple more times if you have not a sharp tip needle. If you have a blunt tip, sew it in a little bit more than I did. You can pull that center tail up and through. And that finishes your center layer. So pause the video and make 1 more of these layers, exactly like this layer we just did. 1 more of those, and I will meet you back. So there is our 4 layers. We are ready to put on our top bun. So we're going to do this layer again, but join on the last round. So grab whatever yarn you want to use for your top bun. And we need a bit of a tail. We're going to knot these 2 tails together, the top bun and the bottom bun. So about 5 inches or so it's a little bit comfortable to knot. Make a slip knot, pop it onto your hook, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Into that very first chain, we want to make a U underneath our hook. So just hold that U shape open with your finger and thumb. Drop your tail. We're not going to be working over it. We're just going to leave it right where it is. Hold that open, don't let go, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn and into the center of that ring. We're going to make 11 double crochets, 12 including our chain. So our chain still counts as our first double crochet. So you can pause the video and make 12 double crochets into the center of the ring, not going over your tail. $11 and $12. Now we're going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 to join. So slip stitch to join. And chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now into that very same stitch, right there, right where our chain started, we're going to do one more double crochet, or 1 double crochet into that same stitch as the chain. So that counts as our first 2 double crochets. And now into our next stitch, which is this guy right there, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So you can pause the video and keep working around 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. You'll have 24 double crochets. When you get back to where we started, we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain to join right there. So pop your hook in and slip stitch 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook. Slip stitch to join and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now into the next stitch, right here, we're going to do 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into the next 2 stitches, just to build our first set. Just like that, pull your hook up to make a bigger loop so we can take our hook out. Now we're going to tie together the center tail of the top bun with the center tail of the bottom bun. We're going to tie these 2 together. So just like a regular double knot. Just like that. Pull it nice and snug. If you're using acrylic yarn, you can pull it quite snug. If you're using a cotton, be careful that your tails don't snap. Can you see how tight it is in there? We're just actually having them touch on the inside. So just give them another knot. Pull, and you can knot it 3 or 4 times. You want to be sure. And nobody is going to feel this knot. It's in the center of your ball. So don't worry about it. Just make sure it is nice and secure and that that knot is not slipping. There we go. So when you're happy with that knot, just go ahead and cut your tails. And we are ready to keep crocheting this layer onto our stack. So shrink that loop back onto your hook. Find a loose chain 1 space, hook in and slip stitch to join. And now we're doing it the same as the other layers, although it's a little more awkward because it's connected in the center. So just take your time, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. There's 2 double crochets and my chain 1. And here's my last 2 double crochets. And find your next chain space that's loose and slip stitch. So we're just going to repeat that all the way around, just building it the same as we have for our other layers. 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. That is our little block, our little set. Next, loose chain 1 space and slip stitch. So we're just going to keep doing that all the way around. 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Find the next loose space and slip stitch. So you can pause the video and keep working along. I'll meet you when you get back to where we started, right over here. When you get back to where we started, if you have an extra stitch or your stitch count is a bit off, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you end with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. You can skip a stitch, you can add a stitch, whatever you need to do. Nobody's going to see this second row. They're just going to see the third. So just make sure your stitch count is right when you are finished. And we'll slip stitch to join into that empty space. And slip stitch to our chain to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, and we're going to cut our yarn, leaving a long enough tail to cinch this top shut and also hang our ornament. So there it is. Pull your yarn through and snug that down. Now go ahead and thread your needle. We want to get over to the nearest space, the nearest chain 1 space. So I'm just going to go backwards a little bit to get to this space. So now my yarn is coming from that space, and I'm just going to go through again so I can make a little bit of a knot. Just like that. So now if I pull my yarn, it doesn't pull my stitches. I'm starting right from that chain space right there. Now using the blunt end of your needle, going into the next chain 1 space from the center going out. Next space from the center going out. From the center going out. We're going to do this for all of our chain spaces. From the center going out. There. Now we're back to where we started. I'm just going to go and stitch straight through that chain, just so I start and finish in the exact same spot. And now it's time for the magic. We're just going to pull that tail, and it's going to shrink up the top of our ornament. Isn't that cute? So make sure it's nice and snug, and just sew this tail in a little bit. We don't want it loosening over time. And we can even do one more of those little knots like this. There we go. Now shrink that down. Take your needle and just poke the green yarn. And now take your needle and just poke it straight back down. We want it to come out the center of the bottom side or the top side. Just like that. We don't want to pull it too much because it can flatten our nice shape. So just bring it through and then take your needle back. We are going to now thread the outside tail from the other side, and we're going to do the same thing again. So thread your outside tail. Look for the nearest space. Just want to go straight into the middle of that space. And then through the chain, I just want to make a little knot. Like that. And now we are ready to shrink up this side. So again, from the center going out, blunt end of your needle. We're going to go into each one of these chain spaces. From the center going out, all the way along, until we get back to where we started right here. And that is where we are going to go through the same chain or that same space, that same area. Because we want our start and finish to be in the same spot. And now just shrink this side up, nice and snug, and stitch it in a little bit, same as we did on the other side. Just a couple times. There. Now adjust your ball so the center tail that we pulled through isn't too tight. You still want it to look a little round on the sides. And then go ahead and knot these tails once just nice and loose just to hold it in place, and then progressively snugger or tighter. We don't want it to shrink. We don't want it to feel it slip and then go like vroop. We don't want that to happen. We just want them to be knotted nicely at the top. Whenever they grab, that's great. There. Now you can take your tail, whichever one is longer, whichever one you want to use, and bring it down. We're going to make our hanging tag. So now we're going to knot these two tails right down at the bottom right there. If you want, you could use a yarn label or a business card to measure if you're making a set, or if you want to sell these, then all of the hanging tags would be the exact same length. That is way too big. There we go. And then just knot it a few times so that it stays nice and snug at the bottom of that tail. This one did not work out that great. I don't know what I did wrong this time, but see, the knot is up on the side. I like it to be right down there in the bottom. So if any of yours turn out like that, you can fix it when you sew in your tails. So just thread your needle again. And go down into your work. There. See, now that knot is right down where we want it to be, right down in there. So just use your tails to gently adjust that knot in case it wasn't as pretty as you wanted it to be. And then just poke your needle all the way through to the bottom and trim your tail from the other side. That way you have a long tail, but it's stuck in the middle of your ball. And do the same with your remaining tail. Just poking it straight down through to the bottom or the other side, whatever color matches, depending on your color combination. And trim it. So there are your cute no-stuff Christmas crochet baubles. So charming and sweet. Oh, they'd look great on a wine bottle, wouldn't they? I'm waiting for you in that video right there. Stay hooked.